Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Area 312 Rock and Metal Vodcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Rex, and my other co-host,
Hi, I'm Kent.
and we have a guest co-host, our good friend Gary Leuba is with us. Thank you, Gary, for joining us. Friends, our guest today was the drummer for Petra for 22 years. He pounded the skins for albums such as More Power to You, Back to the Street, Beyond Belief, and Wake Up Call. Petra is also the first Christian band to be inducted into the Gospel Music Hall of Fame. He is a huge Mickey Mouse fan. Please welcome with me Louie Weaver.
Hey, Louie, it's an
Hello.
honor to have you.
Hi. Hi.
Thank you, Louie. This is such an honor. Thank you so much. And Louie, when you were growing up, was music in your home or um
It was all about music. My dad was into big band and jazz and uh, golly, music in uh, New Orleans jazz. Anyway, and he would put on music. As a matter of fact, I was into Elvis, and I would love to do pantomime Elvis and I was the trickster for the whole family. But he'd set up pots and pans and give me spoons, wooden spoons, and I banged on them. And in the fifth grade, they got me a drum pad and a pair of sticks, and they thought that was going to end it, but it didn't. Uh, I've never wanted to do anything but play music. And when I got saved at 10, when I was 10, I had a vision of playing music that glorified God, because there was a lot of rock and roll you heard that they hinted about God, but I wanted it to be all about. And some of all of what I've done, the majority of my life has been for His glory, not mine. A lot of people, I didn't care how much money I made or if I ever did make a lot of money. And quite a few of the guys in Petra made a bunch of money, but I didn't. And you can edit that out or say it. I've probably never said that like that to people before, but it was true. And I made half of what everybody else made. But I never asked for money. I never looked for money. I knew God would always provide for me. Even now, when I don't get around real great, but I get around. And I went from touring all the time with Petra to driving entertainer coach buses, which I made 3 times the money that I did when I was in Petra. And when that fake demic came, I started getting, my blood pressure went up. I finally went to the hospital with a 236 heart rate.
Wow.
And they found out my top and bottom of my heart don't communicate. So now I'm on this drug. I've never taken hardly anything my entire life. I've never been sick of anything. And during that time, so I have a defibrillator, and you can't have a CDL and have a defibrillator. You can have a pacemaker, but you can't have a defibrillator, because I guess I'll start doing this. But in 5 years, it's never gone off, and I'm thankful. And I take this drug called Sotalol, and it keeps my heart down. It keeps my blood pressure down, and it makes me better looking.
Awesome. Yes, it does. I can tell, Louie.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
well, I'm gonna back up a little bit here. Hopefully I'm pronouncing the name right. You attended or graduated from Trevecca Nazarene College. Am I
Yeah,
pronouncing that right?
I did. I
Okay.
did.
And you got a BA, a Bachelor of Arts in Percussion. And I'm just curious, what is involved in getting a degree like that in percussion? What all kinds of courses or music studies do you have to do that, Louie?
Well, you have to endure pain,
Okay.
but piano, a xylophone, you know, any kind of mallet instrument. I was my best attribute has been on the drum kit. My my teacher was a member of the Nashville Symphony, who got for a couple of years. I was on the roster as an alternate for the Nashville Symphony, and I really enjoyed that. And when I was in grammar school, Davidson County would have a day that they would just bus in as many kids as they could, and the symphony would do a concert for them. I had the honor of the day they did that. I was on, and my nephew was sitting in the crowd watching his uncle play in the Nashville Symphony, and that was a real wonderful joy of my career, being good enough to be part of the Nashville Symphony.
Cool. Could you describe for us your journey to Christ, Louis? You said you came to Christ, I think, when you were 10 years old.
Yeah. Well, no, before that.
Okay.
Actually, you know, I was raised in a Baptist church, and I just remember my my pastor was always bugging me about joining the church. Well, I didn't know what a walk with Christ meant till after I joined the church, and then I started being a part of my youth group all the time, and I just felt a need to take my life and make it totally glorify God, and just always be where God wanted me to be, not where Louie, you know. And I'm very headstrong, opinionated. There's a lot of other adjectives I could use, but I have to daily, hourly submit, because if I don't like something, if something, like, we'll watch people say stupid things on the TV, and I'll start yelling at the TV. And my wife has to tell me all the time, Louie, you're yelling at a TV. They're not really there. You know, but, you know, walking with Christ means more to me than anything that I've ever experienced in my life. Yeah. Christ is my all. He daily guides me to, and, you know, one of my favorite things now is there's a pastor does things on YouTube Shorts, Pastor Omar. I think he's in Australia, and even he, after my 50 years, I'm 74, so 60 years of walking with Christ, I daily find somebody to preach at me. I've been at the same Nazarene church, First Church of the Nazarene in Nashville. We lost our pastor. He retired, but it seems like nobody wants to be our pastor. And without a pastor nurturing me, telling me new things on Sunday morning, I feel deprived. I kind of go to church for praise music, but I want to hear the meat. I don't even desire to play drums at the church. I've always told my music directors, listen, I've already played for everybody. Let these young guys get in there and play. They and then they got electronic drums, which I despise. And one time they needed somebody just to come and sit in the night before, and I said no, I can't. I said I had no desire to play electronic drums for anything, because it's a total it goes against everything you've taught about playing drums. It's a new technique, and I don't care to master it. In 1985, when we did Beat the System, I incorporated electronic drums into my big kit, but I played them sparingly because some of the sounds we did on Beat the System were electronic drums. So I did, and I submitted, but I don't know. I got off on two
There's
drums.
nothing like acoustic drums, you know.
Yeah. Any church that thinks that, well, I'm stepping on toes. The sound men aren't good enough for us for you, a lot of churches to have electronic drums, because the drums, they go from being too loud to them to, well, where are they in the mix?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they have total control, I don't think it sounds good.
Right.
Gotcha.
Salute.
Shake up the house, shake it. Shake up the house, shake it. Shake it, the house, shake it. Ooh, shake it.
Louie, while we're talking about drums specifically at this juncture, I would like to ask you something. I've noticed, and incidentally, Petra Beat the System was my very first concert ever for that Beat the System tour. Got to see you live. You've always been awesome. Louie, you have a very unique style of playing. Especially, I've noticed you playing the hi-hat with your left hand, whereas most on a right-handed kit, most play with their left. So I'm just curious, how did you develop this technique of playing often the hi-hat with your left hand?
Well, I think it's because I wanted my drums to be more level. If you have a really high hi-hat, you can't have a first of four toms over your snare drum, because you'll notice the guys that play like this, if they have a tom over here, it's got to be really high to be able to. So I lowered it, and I don't play as well this way as I do this way. And there's sometimes I'll just cross over and play this way. But when I taught lessons to young and older drummers, I emphasize you should be able to do this as well as this. This may be your main function, but this will help your brain. And really it does. It helps your brain. Because if you're thinking right-handed all the time, you're using the left side of your brain. If you're thinking left all the time, you're using the left side of your brain, which is more creative. I don't know why and who decided that's way it is, but that is it. And everything, since I was small, even when I was playing like this, everything I do, I think left-handed, even though I was right-handed, supposedly. And so, like all my fills, licks, everything, I rarely start with my right hand. I almost always start with my left hand. So I just thought that was a good way to go. And a lot of my favorite drummers played left side, and one of my good buddies, Joe English.
Yeah, I love Joe.
He played that way, and I really admired his technique and whatever. So
Wonderful.
Well, and Louie, you were in the Randy Matthews band and the band Fireworks.
yeah.
What are your memories of those two bands and being playing for them back before Petra?
Well, Randy, he was my so-called biggest break into Christian music. I owe a lot to Randy. I love him to death. He still now wants to do some shows, and he's asked me if I would play. Of course, I would play with him. I don't wag around the drums very well, but I'll give it a old college try.
I saw Louie. I saw recently where Randy and a friend of his are I think they're gonna meet in England or something and work on remastering his older stuff, which that'd be great.
Right. Well, I'm in contact all the time with them, but I've heard nothing about that.
Yeah, the guy posted, I can't remember the friend's name, but he posted it. I think I can probably forward it to you later.
Yeah. Well, one of my 5 top best friends on the whole planet is a guy named Rick Adams. I mentioned him on every album for 10 years straight, and because he was always there for me. Anyway, he played with Randy right after I left Randy, and we didn't know each other until we were at a Compassion dinner 30 years ago when GMA was a big thing.
Yeah.
And we became good friends, and I talked to him daily. I mean, every day. Him and my sound man that was with me with Petra, and a gentleman named Terry Langford who lives in Florida. We've been best friends since I was 5. He was 3. And even though we lived in different states, we have never stopped being best friends, ever.
Wow, that's awesome.
I have a new best friend that a gentleman named, I want to say his title, Pastor Gary Bozart. He texted me one day, wanted to come and visit and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, come on. So we have become so close that I introduce him as my pastor now, because he's been a firm foundation for the Word of God for me, especially during the pandemic. God called him to come to Nashville, so he still owned his house in Louisville, Kentucky. He moved. We found him a house across the street, so I could see him every day. And during the pandemic, that was our church. We would have church at Gary's house in his living room. Awesome. And those were wonderful times to have that opportunity to learn what God has showed him. And he's a drummer too. The only guy that's not my closest friend is Jeff Gallup, who was our sound man. He wasn't a drummer. And Ricky, he's a guitar player. But my top 10, all my best friends except those 2 guys are drummers. Go figure.
Well, can you tell us the circumstances then that led you to joining Petra, Louie?
When back in the late 70s, I learned about Petra I was in a band at Trevecca. We started playing some of their songs, and then they came to do a concert at Trevecca. Well, being the fans we had become, we knew they were driving in sometime, so we went out and sat on the steps of what was then called McClurkin Auditorium and waited for them to arrive. And we waited a few hours, and here they pulled up. And we come running up to them and said, "Hi, we're." The name of the band then was Good Grief. Hi, we're Good Grief. We love you guys. We'll play a lot of your songs. You want to go across the street and jam? And 3 or 4, all the guitar players, we just went across the street and went to our practice room and started playing together. And the next night, I sat there and watched them play, and I got to know the drummer really well. And it wasn't
Bill Glover.
It wasn't Bill Glover. He quit a long time ago. He decided that it wasn't for him, and it was too much to give his life totally to that. And they were just had drummers, and this guy had been with them for 6 months. He wasn't going to stay. I forgot his name. Isn't that amazing? Anyway, I got to know him. And the whole time I was sitting there watching them play, I said, God, I want to be their drummer. And you can say it was a loud, audible voice or not, but he told me, yeah. He said, but wait.
Wow.
And then one of the guys in the band I was playing it with Petra, one night out of the blue, just walked up and said, well, Louie, God told me that you wanted to be the drummer for Petra, and just wait on him. He's going to let you be it. So I just waited.
Wow.
And one cold wintry night, I got a phone call in the kitchen. It was Greg Bowles. Hey, Louie, we're doing a show in Champaign, Illinois, and our drummer, he won't cancel his symphony gig to do our gig. Will you go play with us? And I said, let me think about it. Yeah, I'll go play. I said, but you got, and I told him, you got to play Angel of Light. That's my favorite song. They said, well, we're going to play that. Well, we practiced. And at the time, I just wrote me out charts, what I should play. So we practiced, and we went to some church in Hendersonville, and I set my drums up right by the altar, and I could prop them up on the altar. And that's when I was before glasses. We played the thing. We got to the show. I got my drums set up, and I screamed out, does anybody know where my charts are? And they said, no, I left them on the altar. Well, that was a good place to leave them. We played the show, and directly afterwards, we were staying in a hotel. Greg and Bob came, Louie, we want to talk to you. They came to me and said, we want you to be our drummer. What you want to be? And I said, I got to pray about it. And okay, I'm praying. Yes, I will. So from then on, it was like full force. And then we had a #1 song and no gigs. We had the #1 song in Christian music and no gigs. And Servant asked us if we'd be there open for them. And of course, we wanted to do it. And the majority of the crowds was always Petra fan. Mm-hmm. And we did that. And then we moved on to playing our own shows. But the very first one, we set up on the campus of Southern California. We're all set and ready to go. Waited. Nobody showed. And I saw somebody say the other day their first show with their band. Nobody showed. Well, nobody showed. Wow. Well, we tore the drums down and went out to eat. But after that, I remember we played Texas a lot. And, we had 1,000 people. And all of a sudden, we were setting up the equipment, and I looked out over 3,000 seats. And I said, I actually started crying. And Greg said, Louie, what's wrong? I said, I just hate it when we play these big venues and it looks like nobody's coming. And he said, Louie, it's sold out. They've even sold tickets for people to stand on the wall all the way around the arena. The auditorium looked kind of like an arena, and we played to like over 3,000 that night, and then it just went higher and higher. That's how I met my wife. She was put down pamphlets at a Petra concert, and we were playing the hockey arena at Michigan State. And she loves to tell this, and this is her story, but she says, well, we would always do concerts for people, and we made money for the youth group on Mile Lefevre, and it cost us all of it to bring you guys in, because you wouldn't come in for any less than 10,000 seats, which we had 10,000 people that night. Wow. And because that's where I met my wife. We became best friends for 5 years. I've been married 36 now.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Well, and your first studio album was the classic More Power to You. And a lot of people consider that one of the best Petra albums, and certainly in the Greg X. Bowles era.
I agree.
Did you have any idea, Louie, when you guys were recording that you guys were making something so special and awesome?
Heavens no. All I knew is we were doing it. We went to the studio out in the middle of the desert in Texas.
Wow.
Uvalde, Texas.
Yeah.
And it was so remote. It was pasture after pasture, three gates where you had to go, and you had to run your car into the gate and it would open up. And then after you got back, it would close itself. I don't know how the technology worked, but it wasn't electronic. And I remember driving there. I'd never seen as many jackrabbits. Herds of jackrabbits.
Yeah.
Were standing everywhere. I mean, 3-4 feet tall, big old ears sticking up. And we didn't get out and converse with them. We just drove on to the studio. I remember at that studio, scorpions are big in Texas. I forgot what song we were in the middle of, and I stopped it and I screamed across the way, "Mark, put your bass down. There's a scorpion crawling up your neck." And there was a scorpion, with his tail up, crawling down, and he got it off.
Well, hey, Louie, more power to you. That I didn't really discover Petra for myself till like early '84.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I think the first one I got was Not of This World, and then I got More Power to You next, and just so impactful. I mean, you can tell there's an anointing on those albums, and they impacted me tremendously.
It did me too. Especially the title song, More Power to You.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And when the band became on one accord, that's when I noticed God talking to me through the song. Is when we're all in one accord, God can do so great a thing.
Oh yeah.
And people don't realize it, and I don't think we as a band realized it, because we had a lot of egos in Petra too.
Yeah.
A lot of egos.
Yeah. Well, that I'm sure that's a challenge, because all you guys are such great musicians, and but anyway, y'all probably are my top band out of all time.
Thank you.
My rock, my comfort, my peace, my
just want to harken back. So, was any of the Jesus movement days, were those any of those groups like, did you like them like Love Song and
Well, Love Song, I liked. I didn't follow them as well. During the Jesus movement, there was another band out at about the same time. It was
Mhm.
called Sunlight,
Yeah,
and
yes.
Billy Maxwell was their drummer.
Well, Randy
And
Thomas
I
was their
was
guitar
already
player, wasn't he?
what's that?
Randy Thomas of Sweet Comfort Band and
Yeah,
Allies, wasn't he
yeah.
their guitar player?
And they came to my church and did a quote Christian concert.
Uh-huh.
I'd never seen Christian musicians play that well.
Wow.
Mostly for me, if you were, um, I didn't put that much stock in Christian musicians
Mm-hmm.
until you would think I'm going to say Phil Kagi, but it wasn't. When the band that we had at Trevecca, I was always looking for somebody to just blow me away with their talent. And the guy said, Louie, we got a guy that just is a new freshman, and he is amazing on guitar. And the first guy to totally amaze me that knew Christ and was a musician was Paul Brannon. Now he played with
Yeah,
Joe.
I know. Yeah, with Joe English.
Yeah, he played with
Yeah.
Joe English, and
Yeah.
we became best friends. We had a band, and there were like 4 other guitar players, and they would fiddle it. We had a Wurlitzer piano to have some keyboards,
Mhm.
and we had one right-handed bass, and the left-handed guitar player, when he played bass, he would just take it and turn it upside down. So he went on to be a big writer with United Artists, I think, and he retired from just being a writer. But he wrote most of the songs on Plugged In with Randy Matthews. When we were on tour,
Wow.
those guys would go in on a day off and
Mhm.
sit in Randy's room and write songs all day long.
Wow.
I didn't write anything. I've never written but one song with my friend Ricky way back when, and I don't even remember it. But I just let the writing be up to them, and hopefully they were inspired by God to do what they were doing. But,
Yeah.
I just went to Chuck Girard's funeral 2
Yeah.
days ago.
I loved him. Yeah.
And he was part of a group we meet every month in Nashville called the Old Dudes of Christian Music.
Yeah.
And
Brian Mason. Yeah.
yeah, and I just sat there and cried because it was so heartwarming what he meant to Christian music and what he meant to our dudes. I didn't get to know him that well until he was with the dudes, and his battle with cancer. But I right after I was walking out, there was a Mike Maddox is a guy who was with the Jesus People back during the early 70s. Now that's when I was at Trevecca, so I told him, yeah, I remember we kind of stayed away from you guys. I don't know why, but and he says, yeah, we set up a tent down on 2nd Avenue. I said, I used to go and just look at the tent going, wonder what it'd be like to go in there. And I wanted to, I knew the Lord and I knew they knew the Lord, but it was very different. And that's when it became more real and more real to do what they were doing because they started it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Mike Maddox has been he brought classic Petra he lived in Colorado Springs 5-6 years ago. And he's moved to Birmingham and he wants to do another classic Petra concert. And Greg called me the other day and said, Louie, I think we need to do at least one more concert. And Mike's moved to Birmingham, and he said he'll set it all up. I said, sounds good to me.
Boy,
Whatever
I
you
would love
want
to
to do,
make the trip.
you know.
That's a
I-
long way.
I went from being, in my lowly opinion, Greg Voles is the best singer that's ever been in Christian music. Now
Yeah,
I'm talking, that's Louie Weaver's opinion.
Yeah.
Nobody can top Greg Voles' voice. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
I don't want to name some other names that people say that. Fine, that's your opinion. My opinion is Greg Voles.
When our labors all retire, there will be a drop.
Well, Louis, I'm curious about how things were in the studio back then. Like when say recording More Power to You, would Bob or somebody give you an idea of kind of what kind of drum thing they were looking
No.
for? Would you just improvise it all? Was there like any kind of guidance for you
No.
about the drums?
I just did what I wanted to do.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And
That's
that's
fabulous.
the way I approach everything. Like sometimes I don't even play the same thing I played last concert.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
I just love improvising.
Mhm.
Gotcha. I'm gonna jump up here several years, but the album On Fire, which was in the John Schlitt era, that was the third record that the Elefante brothers produced. I really like that record. I'm assuming by then with the Elefante brothers, everyone was kind of musically and whatever locked in. What do you remember about recording that album specifically, Louis? That has hit you where you live, Minefield, Council of the Holy. Those are incredible tracks.
Mhm.
Yeah. I remember mainly the love I had for John and Dino. If you move on up to This Means War, we were in the studio at the time. John came in that morning. He says, Louis, there's something on my heart. We need to talk about it. He says, I know for a fact you've never lost a loved one, and neither am I. How would we handle that? I said, I don't know. He said, well, let's go in here and pray about it. I said, sounds good to me. So we did. And the next day, they called me from Nashville, said my nephew had just been killed on a motorcycle.
Wow. Man.
And I was so in awe of what God did the day before to prepare me for that day. And the love and the nourishing that John and Dino gave me to get me back home so I could be with my family was just unbelievable. And that was 86, 87. So
Mm.
they showed their true love for me as a friend. We've kind of drifted. I don't see them or talk to them much anymore. I was introducing my friend Pastor Gary to the latest John Elefante album, and I said, you got to listen to this. And there's so many songs that John does that it just makes my heart cry for the love of God. You know what, guys? I don't do a lot of interviews because I got one of my band members doesn't like how emotional I get.
Wow.
And I can't help it. That's a gift of God, in my opinion.
Well, and that shows you're real, Louie. I mean, we
right?
don't mind that at all. So,
We're okay
you
with
know,
that.
we're all brothers here, Louie. You about got me crying almost. So in a good
Sorry.
way. In a good way, you know, but
Yeah.
you just do whatever you want to do, Louie.
Okay. Oh, I think I finished that whole thought.
Okay.
But
Um,
John and Dino have been a wonderful part of my walk with Christ.
When the weight of the world begins to show, when the flames of faith begin to die before I know.
The other artist that has been the mainstay of my walk with Christ has been Bruce Carroll.
Wow. Yeah.
Golly, what's the name of the song? He came to during the pandemic. Him and his wife came to the house, and I said, "Well, we're having church across the street. I want to go." Okay, yeah, I'll go. So I took over. Oh, golly, I want to sing it in my head, and I can't. I'm totally blank right now.
it's okay.
Anyway, there's one or two of his songs. I just break down,
Yeah.
and
The Great
I
Exchange,
told him,
maybe?
huh?
The Great Exchange, maybe?
Yes,
And Driving
that's
Nails.
it. It's the
Yeah.
Great Exchange. Thank
Yeah.
you. Anyway, I told him that when I was driving a bus at if I felt down or if I needed to pep me up or I just wanted to feel closer to the Lord, I would put that in and play it. And I couldn't control myself. It was just, and it probably is close to one of my favorite songs of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I Bruce Carroll and his wife and my wife and I are, we met because one year Bruce was nominated for a Grammy, and so was Petra, but I'm the only one that went to the Grammys. I'm the only one that cared enough about it. So Sony Records paid for us to have a limo, and anywhere we went, limo.
Wow.
And we shared it with them. We became best friends after that. To this day, I mean, my wife and his wife, they call each other all the time. I just call Bruce when I want something.
That's cool.
Well, in 1990, we see the release of Beyond Belief, which I feel is probably one of the best John Schlitt era albums, and it won a Grammy and Dove Award. And I know I've seen the video where when the album is announced as a winner, you're just jumping up and down and so excited, Louie. You know, how did that feel to finally win a Grammy?
Well, and now the jumping up and down part was when we won the Dove Award.
Okay.
But everybody, I don't know why we won that, except for God's grace, but we had been ignored for 10 years.
Right.
We played bigger shows than everybody else. We sold as much or more records than everybody else, but never were good enough to have a Dove Award. Well, something changed that, and it just meant the world to me.
Mhm.
And I was so excited. And I feel like the fans pulled us through that.
Was that the was it Petra Praise album? Is that the one y'all won the
No,
award?
Beyond Belief.
Beyond
Beyond
Belief?
Belief.
Okay, but what about the Grammy? Was that
That was, I think that was Beyond Belief also.
Mhm.
okay? Okay.
You know, on my mantle at the house, I have 4 Grammys sitting on it. Okay. I have people come in my house, look up there and go, "Where'd you get those?" So I'll just leave it at that. Oh, I bought them at a pawn shop.
Yeah, you got them at Kmart, right, Louie? You got them at
Yeah.
Kmart. Well, could you share some stories, Louie, from touring or something that sticks out to you or a performance that you really thought was special from
Probably
touring with Petra?
92, we did this youth gathering at the Dallas Reunion Arena, which has already been torn down.
Yeah.
We came in, they set up, they gave us our concert time. And walking on that stage, there were 22,000 screaming kids as we took stage. And the tears you saw me, those were so relevant. I just had to pray the entire time walking up because I was losing it. I didn't know how I was going to play. It was so emotional. And here's what I said to God. I said, God, this must how the Beatles felt.
Right.
I mean, it was deafening that they were so excited that we were taking stage. We hadn't even played a song yet. They just loved us. I remember going, the Nazarene Church has a youth gathering every 4 years or every year. Anyway, I went and spoke at it 2 or 3 times and played, and they just had me get up on the drums and play something. And one year, my son's sitting with his 30 kids in a youth group, and the guy getting up speaking tells about, it used to be more exciting to me because we used to bring in, say, Petra to play, and that was the greatest part. And then all the kids at the youth group started screaming out, Louie, and pointing at my son, Louie, Louie. And it was my son telling me the story. It was so heartwarming for him to feel what I felt. For the guy to say that, and it was the most meaningful conventions that he had been to was when Petra was there with him, and that my son heard that because he never got to see me play at those conventions. So that was a wonderful memory from my life.
Yeah. Cool. Well, and as everyone knows, you're a huge Mickey Mouse fan, Louie. Can you just tell us the story of
Yes.
how that all came to be, please?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, back when I was at Good Grief at Tribeca College, my favorite drummer then was Billy Cobham. My all-time favorite is always Buddy Rich.
Okay.
But I saw Billy Cobham playing in a Mickey Mouse shirt. And one of the guys in the band says, Louie, you ought to do that. You have a bunch of Mickey Mouse shirts. Just start being known as the guy playing in the Mickey Mouse shirt. And I said, you think so, Lord? And I found out when I wear the Mickey Mouse shirt, it not only draws people to me, especially the kids. Everybody wants to talk to the guy or say something nice to the guy with the Mickey Mouse shirt. You don't curse at a guy wearing a Mickey Mouse shirt. You say, "Yay, Mickey!" And that's what. And then I named my daughter Mickey.
Oh.
Mickey.
Okay.
So, my wife and I, we're nuts about Mickey Mouse still.
Awesome. Well, and it keeps you young in that. I mean, like you said, Mickey Mouse, I think for everyone, that just brings back good
Thi-
childhood memories, you know?
This is my birthday present from my son.
Mhm.
This shirt right here.
Awesome. 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 Well, then in 2010, you and Greg Voltz, Bob Hartman, John Lowry, and Mark Kelly formed the band Classic Petra, and you re-record classic era Petra songs. And the album was called Back to the Rock. Can you tell us kind of how that happened, what events
Well,
transpired?
that was Greg's song,
Okay.
and you know, Bob wrote a lot of the songs, and Greg helped him make them presentable.
Okay.
I'm just gonna I don't want to step on anybody's toes or
Mhm.
make you think lowly of Bob, but
Sure.
without Greg, those songs wouldn't have been as great as they were.
Okay.
So that's how that all and why that all is.
Mhm.
Did I answer the question?
Kind of. Yeah, that's that's fine, Louis. And then you guys like kind of rename the band and you call it Classic Petra Resurrected, and you release another re-recordings of Classic Petra songs called Back to the Rock 2 in 2017. And you guys start touring. So how was all that kind of
Well,
going?
we
How
just
did
felt
that
that people
happen?
wanted to see Greg back with the band,
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
and I was already not touring with the Petra.
Mhm.
And when you said 22 years a while ago, I've
Mhm.
never stopped being representing Petra.
Right, right.
You know, uh, there. How do I humbly say I made more of an impact as a drummer for Petra than anybody that's ever played drums for Petra?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right.
And I know that, and I don't mind saying it.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm the only one in Petra that didn't have anything to do with anything we ever did. All I did was say, God, where do you want me? And they said, Louis, we're going over here. And I would say, okay. I wasn't in any meetings. I wasn't in any decision making ever. But when Classic Petra, we all five were.
Mhm.
And then later, when everybody else didn't want to be in charge, me and Greg made the decisions. But mainly, I told Greg, I said, Greg, you make a decision, I'm going to follow it. You know, everybody can't make all the decisions.
Right.
There's got to be somebody that always will follow, and that's me.
Gotcha. Kent, you had a question or comment?
Louis, just want to say at this juncture, and I might get a little emotional here myself. Um, the reason why is Petra. So after I became born again and received Christ, I was 10 years old myself. And I came from the Kiss camp, meaning at a very young age, Kiss was my band. And when I received Christ, my eyes became open to some things that weren't wholesome for me and whatnot. And frankly, I didn't know that Christian rock existed.
Mhm.
And on a church youth grip, my tongue's getting tangled here. My on a church youth group trip, a buddy of mine popped in a Petra tape, and it was it was Never Say Die. And I first heard you mentioned Angel of Light being Greg X Voltz's favorite song.
No,
Uh,
that was my favorite song.
oh, well, that's mine too. That's the song that I heard, and I'm like, who is this? And so then I had to find out about Petra. And so they didn't have Never Say Die in stock, but the first tape that I was actually able to get a hold of was More Power to You. And Louis, and all glory to the Lord, and He alone is God. I want to make that very clear. But as a young person who needed positive influences and heroes, instead of drawing Kiss on my papers, I would then draw Petra album covers and
Oh,
draw you guys. And my very first concert ever was Beat the System. Saw you on the Beat the System tour. So you guys have been very special to me. As Rex and I always say, Louie, you were among, we consider you guys as our youth ministers because not only did we listen to the music, you all presented the gospel message.
Right.
And we hung on to every word.
Mm-hmm.
And
me too.
I want to thank you for that, for being
Yeah.
a faithful vessel to the Lord. Louis, you were in the very first Christian band I ever heard. Rex and I, and along with some wonderful friends like Gary, we've been doing this now for roughly 6 years. And it all stems from the Lord. And for me, my journey traces back to first hearing Petra. And that year was 1982. And I just want to say thank you. And all to say, my question initially, I'm just curious. In talking about classic Petra, and I love all you guys that were in classic Petra, do you ever still get to keep in touch with John Slick? Whatever happened to John Milo Slick? I've always just been curious about him.
John and I have talked. We haven't talked in quite a few months, but we talk every once in a while, and he's doing fine.
Wonderful.
Good.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I have spoken to just about everybody because to me the original band was John Slick, Mark Kelly, Bob, Greg, and me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are the ones. That five is the ones that were on the road so much and made it happen so the next generation of Petra could play arenas.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I'm not trying to I hate to put Johnny second, but John Slick is first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And I love, like I said, I'm old enough to know, and I appreciate, not trying to be divisive at all. I just remember the original Petra that I initially loved. It was you, Louie, and Bob, and Greg, and Mark Kelly, and John Milo Slick. And that was
Yeah.
the band that I knew and loved,
Me?
at the time.
Yeah.
And I love the other
I
versions.
missed that.
Yeah.
We had so much. It was just us in a little green truck pulling a trailer.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember that group. We were pulling a mountain out in California coming into Sacramento, and we blew an engine in. We finally got a big box truck. It blew an engine. The people at the place found us transportation on the side of the road. They offloaded all our equipment, and that was the first time that we showed way late, hours after the show was supposed to start. The whole crowd helped us unload and set up, and then we played to them.
Wow.
And I'm talking about a few thousand.
Wow.
You want to hear my favorite road trip?
Yes.
With Petra?
Yes.
We played. You got Denver, and what's the city right above it?
I'm horrible with geography.
Yeah, me
Fort-
Right above it.
It's Fort something, and then anyway, we left, and you have to go uphill almost the whole way. So we had a little green Dodge truck with a big box on the back, and we made bunks in the front part of it, and pulling a trailer. Well, I was driving. Well, this semi wouldn't leave me alone, and he kept trying to pass me. That guy's not going to pass me. Okay. Sorry. I hope that's not road rage. Anyway, I couldn't pull the hill as fast as him, and he got up beside me, and his co-driver looked at him and says, Your trailer has no wheel. What? The left wheel is gone. You're dragging the trailer.
Oh, wow.
I looked for miles after I pulled over back down the mountain road, which you could see forever. And there was a rut that the side of the pavement and the trailer frame, you know how it's square. Well, back here, it was already at a 45-foot angle, and it worn off that much of the frame.
Oh, wow.
And
My goodness.
I can't believe I did that, but it did happen.
Wow.
I was just a young man with a burning tail, headed in the wrong way. Then I heard the news.
So Louie, classic Petra Resurrected. Are you guys still touring or not? And you had mentioned that next year maybe is going to be, I think, the last
It may be.
concert. Okay. All right. Okay.
We haven't played a show since November of last year.
In that Kerrville, Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some of that on video, and man, it sounded great. You know?
Thank you. It was a great concert.
Yeah, it sounded great.
That was
It sounded
one of my
great.
favorite DW drums other than mine I've ever played.
Oh,
If I could have afforded them, I would have bought them. It's DW drums has been the most wonderful thing that's ever happened to my career ever. I loved my Yamaha custom recording, but they quit making those drums, and I sold those drums. I've sold about 4 different kits in my life, and actually, I'm in the process of trying to get back my Beyond Belief first drum kit that I ever owned. That DW made for me. And I do mean it when I say DW made for me, because John Good, who is the mastermind of all DW drum, he picked out the shells and of 4 different drum kits that I have had, and I still got 3 of them. There's the pink kit, and they made my son, when he was 2 years old, a little bitty drum kit, and it got to where I if I went and practiced with Petra, or classic Petra, I would take the little bitty kit because the old man could carry it around. And the guys loved the way it sounded. And then I have my 25th anniversary kit, which is the drums I play mostly all the time because they sound so wonderful.
awesome. Well, and speaking of drum kits, from what I understand from our mutual friend Ron, your Beyond Belief drum set is being put in the Gospel Music Hall of Fame. Is that correct, Louie? Or how did that happen?
My wife said I wasn't supposed to talk about that, but you brought it up. But yes, that's why I'm having to get them back from. I sold it to another best friend.
Okay.
He's giving them back to me, and I'm having him another DW kit made to go with his. Because at first he was happy for me, but sad for him because it was a big part of his testimony.
Mm-hmm.
Was being able to buy the Beyond Belief DW kit.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that's happening. Yes, it's October 2nd. You'll see my Beyond Belief kit with the Mickey Mouse. I never sold the Mickey Mouse bass drum.
Okay.
I tried to one time, and a guy shamed me because I wanted $1,500 for each drum. And I told that story to John Good, who made them. And he laughed. He said, those drums are worth a lot more than $1,500. How dare that guy, shame you for. People just want you to give them stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So does someone in the organization ask you about that drum set specifically for having
Here's how
it?
here's how it happened.
Okay.
I was having my morning devotion, thinking and praying, God, I hear about some of this other things that people are giving the museum. I'd like to offer them my drum. And I'm not kidding you. I get a phone call from them that very minute. Hey, Louie, this is Dana Capero with I probably said his name wrong. With the museum. Have you got a Mickey Mouse shirt or anything that we can put in the museum? I said, how about a whole drum kit? He said, okay. So I'm still in the process of getting the toms. I had the bass drum, snare drum, the first rack that I ever put them on, blah, 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 sitting over there at my house. And I'm pointing at my garage, which is right over there. Anyway, and it's gonna, yes, that's gonna happen. I'm glad it's out. My wife said I couldn't bring it up, but you did. So I can't lie to you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and Ron didn't tell me this was like super secretive, so he just said,
Well-
"Hey, ask Louie about that when you interview him." So
Well, how'd he find out?
I don't know. He just said, "Hey, it was that same day that we talked when you were at the bank or the credit union," and he says, "Hey, Louie's gonna be donating his Beyond Belief drum set, you know," and I'm like, "Oh, cool." So he said, "You can ask Louie about that."
Yeah. Unlike the Hard Rock Cafe,
Mhm.
I donated 6 snare drums all over the world. And they all used to be up, but now we're not that popular. So where are they?
Mm.
Gotcha.
How it works with the gospel music, we're going to sign a contract between the other. They're still my drums. They're just borrowing them.
Okay, right.
If they don't want to put them up anymore, I get them back.
You get him back.
They
Okay.
don't go sit in a closet somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for that.
Mhm, mhm.
Louis, I'd like to know, since we're talking about the neat honor that's coming up with your drums, I'd like to know your thoughts. You had been voted favorite drummer by CCM Magazine's readers for 5 years in a row from 1989 to 1993. I just kind of wanted your thoughts about being voted the favorite drummer for 5 years in a row.
That's
I
great.
think about my 3rd or 4th time, Robert Sweet came up to me and says, Louis, can one of us win it once? I said, I don't have any control over it. But I always felt treated like I wasn't important until in that same article, they said that, I think everybody else in the band at their instrument was voted number 1. And they said that one year I received 1,000 more votes than anybody in any other category. If I didn't need to be in Petra, the fans sure wanted me there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's neat. Louis, I don't know what it is. And it maybe part of it is just your friendly demeanor with that Mickey Mouse shirt. But just like Mickey is an icon, Louis, when I think of a Christian rock drummer, it's you. And I love Robert Sweet. Believe me, I think he's the cat's pajamas. But Louie, you in and of yourself are kind of an icon, and
Yep.
I feel like you were kind of, if I may say it this way, America's first Christian rock drummer, if you know what I mean by it. Because Petra was the premier Christian rock band back in the day, and Louie Weaver was the drummer that America was first drawn to through that
Mhm.
band. And
Mhm.
another sidebar here, Louie, you gave a 1992 drum instructional video, Back to the Basics, and I'm curious about that. What was the catalyst for you doing that Back to the Basics instructional video?
Well, I just wanted I wanted to put out something that my fans could latch on to for their memories, for their so-called instruction, you know, and it was that it was all about me and nobody else, and I don't feel like that was being big-headed. I just wanted to give that to my fans, especially Petra fans.
Yeah.
And one good, like you see the song that I was playing on the intro and
Right.
that instrumental song.
Song.
Yeah, John Lowry gave me that song.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah, he wrote it just for me.
It makes me want to fall down, lay it all down, fall down, lay it all down.
Speaking of John Laurie, and that's so neat. And John, incidentally, in 2006, John produced an album that featured you and Jimi Bennett from the band King James. The band was called Viktor.
Yeah.
And the album was Do You Believe?
I
And
got that.
that's already been, just shy of 20 years ago. Can you tell us about your album done with Viktor?
Well, me and Jimmy and Tommy Brown, who was the bass player, I was down driving buses for him in Atlanta, and we decided to put together a band because we wanted to go out and play.
Mm-hmm.
And this was right after I had left Petra, and we just wanted to do something. We'd all played around each other, but never with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite keyboard players, Terry McCullough, we invited him up from Florida, and a guitar player, he just moved from Pennsylvania just to come down and play with us. And he's gone on, he's doing really good, playing with more jazzy bands down at, what was his name, Mom? Guitar player for Viktor. Don't put me asking her his name. I forgot his name. Shane. Yeah. Incredible guitar player. But he moved his whole family to Atlanta just to play with us. And we played quite a few shows. And this was when I wasn't used to playing live a lot. Very memorable. Jimmy and them wanted me. We went and played up in Ohio somewhere. And they said, Louie, do a drum solo. So I got about 3 or 4 minutes into the solo, and I ended it. And under my breath, I went, Jimmy, that's all I got. And to this day, Jimmy loved that story. But Jimmy's a pastor at a church in Atlanta now.
Hey, Louie, the Immortal Festival is going on up in Ohio, and I think I saw where King James was going to be doing something. I don't know if that includes Jimmy or not, but
I don't think it's Jimmy.
okay.
I think they got another guy.
Okay.
It's probably still Rex.
Yeah,
But-
still Rex and Michael Feehan on the drums, and
He's a wonderful person. I've never really watched him play.
I'd like to go back really quick to when I was 8 years old. In 1979, I'm curious about this. There was a 7-inch single released with a group called Crossfire that you were involved with. Side A had a song called Jubilation. Side B had Because of You. Was this a band from your Trevecca Nazarene College years?
Yes. Good Grief went on to become Crossfire.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
That one, those two songs, especially Jubilation, is one of my favorite songs I ever did. We went on, Crossfire went first. We played the whole band, and there was 7 of us played with Randy Matthews. Then Randy couldn't take everybody anymore, so one of the guys, Dave McCaskill, Alan Holmes, and me, became the Randy Matthews band, and we toured for a couple of years.
yeah, cool.
Gary, we're kind of winding down. Do you have any more questions for Louie or?
Well, I was just gonna kind of add, over the years, I was trying to recount how many times I saw Petra with you as the drummer, and I came up with like 5 times. Beat the System in '85. That was Shreveport, Louisiana, and then '87 in Tyler, and then '88 again in Tyler, and then '98 in Longview, and then 2012 the classic Petra in Plano, Texas. And man, I'm telling you what, it was like you're just sitting in almost like listening to a CD. It sounded so good.
Thank you.
It was fabulous, and I was just in the hog heaven on
Well,
that one.
just let you know, John Lowry, who does records all the time, he has his own studio, has taken and redid that concert. So we're going to release it
Really?
as a something.
Oh man.
And he's beefed it all up. And
Wow.
just let me add, the best musician I've ever played with, you want to know who that is?
Who?
John Lowry.
Yeah, he's a master on the
No,
key.
he's a monster.
He's a monster. Yes, you're right.
You know who Jan Hammer is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, he did for that controller thing he played.
Yeah.
he did a NAMM show one year with Jan Hammer. And I was so excited about something, and I walked up to Johnny at the booth where they were, and I started, I love your shirt. He started telling me, I started telling him about something DW, and I was just blah, 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 going a mile a minute. Louie, slow down. Jan Hammer, and Jan Hammer, excuse me, in the 70s was my keyboard idol.
Yeah.
And Johnny Lowry matched him to the team, as good as.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to tell you, I mean, as far as I'm a musician,
Yeah.
John Lowry
Sure.
is hands down the best musician I've ever played with.
Yeah. I enjoyed him with Joe English band.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that Press On and
Mhm.
what else was there?
What You Need.
Hmm.
That-
Yeah.
that was
Yeah,
that
maybe.
one.
Yeah.
What You Need. Yep.
My claim to fame with Joe is I showed him a lick I did, and that I really liked. And that night we were playing with them on stage, and he did it in the concert, and it came to be one of the things he did all the time. He says, "Louie, nobody ever showed me this before," and I was honored that a guy that's played where he's been said that to me. So it was kind of neat, very neat.
Now it's haunting me how I stole those spares, 'cause I loved her wrong, even though I knew a better way. Not for hunger or poverty, it was more than theirs that I ended up throwing away. Yeah.
Just want to express my utmost gratitude to you, Louie, and to you, Miss Penny, for your time.
Thank you.
It's been
I'll
a-
tell her. She's standing right here, 10. It's time to go.
Is it time to go? Okay.
Yeah, it's 1 o'clock.
Okay. Well, real quick then, Louie, what would you like to say to all your friends and fans, and or what words of wisdom would you like to share with everyone?
Uh, Follow Jesus Christ every day. Don't be wrapped up in me. Wrap yourself up in him. Let him who boasts boast in the Lord.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we close out every episode with something we call Message from Home, Louie. And it's a scripture verse that relates to the band or artist or an album or record. And I saw where you said your favorite verse of scripture was Galatians 5:22 and 23, I believe. And I'm just
Mhm.
going to read that real quick. And it says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. And I just think that's a good handbook for us as believers to follow. If we could do all that, the world would just be a better place. And I just want to thank you and Penny for sharing your time, and for my good
Yeah.
friend Ron Gibson connecting us. And I just want to thank you so much, Louie, for everything. It's been a wonderful time sharing with you. And if you could just stay on for 30 seconds more, we're going to wave goodbye to everyone out there. But thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Louie.
you.
Thank you, Penny.
Thank you.
God bless. Thank you.
Yep.